All right, let's take a look at your 6.5 assignment, which is actually a fun worksheet on graphing inequalities here. So the question is, what did the toothless old termite say when he entered a tavern? So what you're actually asked to do is to graph each pair of inequalities and look where the shaded region is, and you'll have one of these words that you're going to put in the puzzle down below. So let's start graphing these. So on the first one, here you have y is less than or equal to x minus 1, and y is greater than or equal to negative 3. So you graph each line one at a time, or I should say each inequality. So what's nice about this one is y is all by itself. So when I look at this, remember we want to identify the slope and y-intercept. So on this first one, my slope is 1, my y-intercept is negative 1. Remember that slope is rise divided by run. So if it's 1, it's simply 1 over 1. So I start with my y-intercept at negative 1, put a dot, then I'm going to go up 1 to the right 1, another dot, up 1 to the right 1. And I keep on doing that, and I can go backwards and go down 1 to the left 1, so I get all my points. So in this one, since it's an equals, it's a solid line, so I'm going to connect all my dots nice and solid, and then I have to determine my shading. So the question is, do I shade above or below? If y is all by itself, if it's a less than or equal to, we go below. If it's a greater than or equal to, you go above. And you do this if y is by itself. So in this case, since it's a less than or equal to, my shading right now is below. So right now for my answer for number 1, it's either going to be here T00 or the word end here. So now I have to graph the second one. So I'm going to do it in a different color. Y is greater than or equal to 3. Well, if I think about this one, there is no x, so the slope is actually 0. My y-intercept is negative 3. Some of you might remember that, all right, if I start at negative 3, no slope, that's a horizontal line. So I want all the numbers that are greater than or equal, or above the line. So my shaded region goes in this direction. So what I'm going to do is shade extra heavy where it is blue and red. So for number 1, I am going to put the word end. So if I go down to my puzzle here, I write in END. And number 1 is done. Do the same thing for number 2. So we're going to be doing this for these 6 problems. So number 2 says, excuse me, x is less than or equal to 2. When you have an x, we know that this is a vertical line because there is no slope when you don't have a y. So we know this is a vertical line at 2. So I go ahead and draw my vertical line at 2. It is solid because it has the equals. Excuse me. Now, the next one, whoops, I'm sorry. I need to determine the shading. It's a less than, and this is where it's not above or below because it's a vertical line. So you have to think of what numbers are less than 2. Is it 3, 4, 5, 6, or is it 1, 0, negative 1, 2? So the shading right now is going this way. So we're either putting ERN or ERE in for the next one. Now, next line here, here's my slope, 2/3. Here's my y-intercept, negative 1. So I start at negative 1. Slope is 2/3. So up 2 to the right 3. Up 2 to the right, kind of run out of space. So what I can do is go down 2 to the left 3 and get another point. Still a solid line because it has the equals. So I can go ahead and connect them all. Since it's a less than, I'm shading below. Notice how I'm just shading it with where it is purple. So I know for number 2, it's ERE. So So number 2, I can put ERE. So now, number 3. Nice thing is my y's are still by themselves, which make this easier. So on this one here, my slope is -1. My y-intercept, all right, is equal to +1. So I start at 1. My slope is -1. So if I put that over 1, that means I go down 1 to the right one, or to the right one, down 1 to the right. So I keep on doing that pattern, go straight up. Now this one is a dashed line because it doesn't have the equals. So what I like to do is just draw little dashed lines through my points, and I have my border line. Then what I need to do is test it. Well, it says less than, so again, a less than or equal to is below the line. Gonna graph the next one. Y is greater than 1/2. Well, there's my slope. 1/2. My y-intercept is equal to -2. So now, start at -2. 1/2. Up 1 to the right 2. Up 1 to the right 2. Or down 1 to the left 2. Down 1 to the left 2. Okay. This one here also is dashed because it doesn't have the equals. Draw that in. Now I need to determine, do I shade above or below? This one here is above. So for number 3, I'm putting in HEB. So number 3, I put in HEB. All right, number 4. Ooh. On number 4, here we have y is less than x. If it helps you, put a +0 here so that you can see that the slope is equal to 1, since you put a 1 in front, and the y-intercept is 0. So you start at 0, up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1, and so forth. Down, and I have my line. So now, again, no equals, so this is dashed. So I'm going to dash my points. So I have my border line. Now I have to test, is it above or below? Since it's a less than, it's going below. Now, do the next one. 3x plus 2y is greater than 4. So this one becomes at least a little more challenging here. So to do this one, we could get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract the 3x, minus 3x. So now this is gone. I can divide both sides by 2. So if I divide everything by 2, my new equation, which I'm going to write over here, is y is greater than, I didn't have to flip the sign because I divided by a +2, is greater than 2 minus 3/2 x. So now, here's my slope. My slope is -3/2. My y-intercept is 2. Ooh, there's my y-intercept. My slope is -3/2, so I'm going to go down 3 to the right 2. Down 3 to the right 2. Or I could go up 3. Now, since it does not have the equals, I would dash my line. Since it's greater than, I'm shading above. So it's this area. I don't do this one since this does not contain anything blue. So for number 4, I put IST. IST. All right, number 5. Same type of process. On the first one here, however, if I want to get y by itself, okay, I'm going to first move the x to the other side. So when I do that, I'm subtracting x, subtract x. So I have -3y is less than or equal to 12 minus x. Now, when I divide by -3, okay, they cross out y. Since I divided by negative, flip the inequality. -12 minus 3 is -4. negative x divided by negative 3 makes positive 1/3 x. So now when I graph this one, I can start at negative 4, and my slope is 1/3. So up 1 to the right 3. Up 1, kind of fall out there, so I can go down 1, back 3. So now if I graph this line, it's solid because it has the equals, and it's now a greater than sign. So my shading is above. So it's either EDH or ERH. So now I need to shade the other one. X is greater than 2. Again, this is a vertical line at 2. So I start at 2, vertical, straight up and down. Now I made a little mistake here because the line should be technically, whoops, I didn't undo that part, sorry. I didn't see my eraser being so big, so I'm just going to kind of erase some of the lines so I make it dashed because it doesn't have the equals. Now I want numbers that are bigger than 2, so that is to the right. Let me get back to the pen. Hope I can stop right here technically. So I will put ERH. Okay, you can almost probably figure out what the answer is. But let's get the last one. So our last one, y is less than or equal to 1. Well, we know that's a horizontal line at 1. You can think about it like this. 1 plus 0x. So there's my y-intercept. There's my slope. I need to shade below this line since it's a less than. Now when I do the last one here, subtract the 2x. So what's nice is y is less than 1 minus 2x. So my y-intercept is at 1, and my slope is negative 2. So that means I go down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, or up 2 to the left 1. This one is dashed because it doesn't have the equals. I want to shade the left side. Whoops, I didn't really need to do it, so it actually starts here, sorry, to here. So we're now taking the word ART. So we should now have our answer to our puzzle. So we just have to break out the words. And it is the bartender here? Makes sense. Because since termites actually eat, whoops, should cross out that right there. So it makes it a little more. Is the bar tender here? So since termites like to eat woods and most bars are made out of wood, made out of wood, ha ha ha. Alright, go to the back side. Let's finish up these last few problems. It says, solve the inequality for y. So on this one, you're just trying to get y by itself. So the first thing I can do is subtract 2x from both sides. So when I do, move it over here, negative 5y is greater than 10 minus 2x. Then I divide both sides by negative 5. So I get y, since I divided by a negative, flip the inequality sign, negative 2. Two negatives make a positive, 2/5 x. So this one's just really trying to emphasize, remember to flip the inequality sign when you divide by a negative number. Alright, the last two here ask you are 4. Apologize, is there 4? No, there's just 2 of them, so it really should just say for A through A and B. Write the equation for each graph. So, basically the first thing you want to do is get the border line here. So, I start off and have students say, alright, what's the slope? What's the y-intercept? So when I look at this, the y-intercept's the easiest one to identify. That's 2. My slope, I look at how much am I going down and to the right, down and to the right. So it looks like I'm going down 1, so that'd be a -1, to the right 2. So my slope is -1/2. So my equation starts off by -1/2 x plus 2. If you wrote 2, or you could write y equals 2 minus 1/2 x. Either or is fine by me. So now the shading of the line determines your inequality. Since it's below, it's going to be a less than. Since it's dashed, you do not. No equals. So my inequality sign is just a less than. So my final equation would be y is less than -1/2 x plus 2. Or if you said y is less than 2 minus 1/2 x, either is acceptable. So, same thing for the last one here. Look for my y-intercept. That's at 3. Look for my slope here. I'm going to take these 2 points here. It looks like I'm going to the right 2 and up 3. So my slope, okay, is rise over run again, so 3 over 2 in this particular case. So my equation can start off by saying y equals 3/2 x plus 3, or if you like to flip it around, it's just fine, 3 plus 3/2 x. So now I just need to replace the inequality sign. This one's above, so that tells you greater than. It's solid, so that tells you equal is also included. So that's my inequality sign I want to use. So my final answer would be either y is greater than or equal to 3/2 x plus 3, or y is greater than or equal to 3 plus 3/2 x. I would accept either of those. All right, that ends this worksheet.